welcome, I'm Anna, and I don't know how to do things in a timely manner. In like May, after I saw Solo, I was like, for real, gonna do that Solo video, but I didn't. Liking Star Wars in the year 2019, unthinkable, am I right? There are two things I didn't like about it, and I've seen them like talked about. The first thing is L3. I didn't really like find L3 like very funny. I found her like very grating, and I thought she was like an annoying feminist like as a joke, and I don't know, like that is like awesome. This has all been said before, and other people who are smarter than me probably can tell you better about why L3 is weird. Other like problem that lots of people had with Solo, I also feel like is very weird. Half of the movie we set up this really cool team of people who work with Beckett. Val and Rio both die, like pretty much like immediately, and it really sucks because I think it could have been a really cool movie if they had been a bigger part of it. In the same vein, I don't know that like everything they explained needed to be explained. Having Han win the ship from Lando like pretty much immediately, and having him do the Kessel Run in this movie, I mean, like, was expected, but also like a little cheap. Like, I think there's a lot more to Han Solo than like the couple of things that we know about him. And obviously lots of people know more about Han Solo than I do, but I understand why they would want to have him do the Kessel Run in the first Han Solo anthology film that they made about him. But I don't know about having it be in like his origin story. It felt like a lot of the things that he's famous for in original trilogy and ye old Star Wars lore came really cheap. I think those are like valid criticisms. But there were like also lots of Easter eggs that I did really enjoy. I think it's hilarious that Beckett like killed Aura Singh. I also think it's really funny that Han Solo's last name isn't Solo. Like, Imperial Officer must have felt like so fucking funny. Oh. I thought it was like really well paced and like a fun movie. Nothing was too convoluted except at the very end. I thought like visually it was like an easy film to watch, and also like lots of rip-roaring fun. Action sequences placed with like moments of quiet. I also like felt like I was watching a Star Wars movie. I don't know, I always feel that way when I watch the sequel trilogy. I think in large part because they use so much music and themes that were really familiar from the original trilogy and from the prequels. In that way, it did a lot to feel like it was still part of the same universe. Really felt like it was bridging a gap between like the aesthetic of the prequels and the aesthetic in the original trilogy. I really think that the way that Star Wars uses music is 90% of the battle. I think if I didn't like the prequels as much as I did, I wouldn't have enjoyed Solo. So if you just like don't enjoy the prequels, you probably aren't gonna like Solo that much, which really sucks. It was a lot like a prequel movie in that the story was pretty like ridiculous. I really enjoyed the story, how it was pretty much tied to like how important fuel is. To me, that felt very Clone Wars. You get characters that you recognize and that you care about, but they're really doing something that is like nothing to do with them. So the main through line of this movie was about the coaxium. So they've got the coaxium at the beginning, which is how Han gets off of Corellia, and then they have to go and steal coaxium the entire time, and that felt really structured and very Star Wars to me. So the ending of Solo, the last act, Enfys Nest shows up and is like, we're taking the coaxium, we'll kill you if you don't, but also you don't want the Empire to get their hand on the coaxium because they're awful. And we're out here just trying to make the galaxy a better place. Han then is like, oh, well, we can't give it to Crimson Dawn. But the sequence of events is so ridiculous. So the first thing that happens is Lando betrays Han. He's not even just gonna stick around to be paid. Okay, so Lando betrays Han. Han betrays Dryden Voss. Beckett betrays Han, but then Beckett betrays Dryden Voss and Han by taking all the coaxium. Han was like, oh, I was one step ahead of you. I knew that you were gonna attack Enfys Nest once you found out that I was trying to trick you. So actually, it's right here. Kira betrays Dryden Voss by killing him and pretends that she and Han are gonna run off together, but then Kira betrays Han, working with Darth Maul, and then Han betrays Beckett by shooting him first. I think that whole like ending sequence is so ridiculous, so convoluted in the way that people start betraying each other, and it's not like any single one of those actions is like surprising. It's just like it just keeps happening. I just like I cannot honestly get over the fact that Darth Maul was in this movie for like even a hot second. That one took me a second in May to like figure out like why he was in charge, but then I remembered that he killed Satine. It also explains the Mandalorian armor that is in like Dryden Voss's office. It explains the Mandalorian armor in his office. I mean, like, he's a collector, and I assume that like getting some Mandalorian armor would be like fun, but like where'd he get it? He got it from Darth Maul himself. I also like love Kira. She's a survivor, and she definitely loves Han, but I also think she's always been someone whose priority is herself, who is desperate enough to do terrible things to protect herself. And I don't think that there are enough female characters who remain empathetic when they operate in that space. I think Kira does this by not really being conflicted over her decisions. She's not shy about the decisions that she needs to do, and she doesn't look away from the life she's lived. And I feel like lots of times when female characters operate in the space of like tough badass, they like can't look they can't look head on at the choices that they've made that, you know, lead them to being alone. Here's what I envision for Kira, and this is why this discussion is important about Kira. I don't know that there's like a universe where Kira gets to make it out. I don't know that there's a universe where Kira gets to make it out alive, and if she does, she's gonna be alone. And Han Solo, in spite of the fact that his own son murdered him, doesn't make it out of the story alone. When he's killed by Kylo Ren, he's performing an act of love. I have a lot of mixed feelings about the sequel. Wow, I think they're like kind of fun to watch, and I'd really like to like Kylo Ren as a villain, and I'd really like to support Rey as a hero. I find myself feeling like this universe that the sequel trilogy is painting for us is empty and desolate, and while it's probably not their intention, makes me feel like heroes are destined to be alone, where the prequels and the original trilogy definitely sent a different message, which was when you try to do things alone and not through love and not through the relationships you have with your friends and your family, you know, you end up like burning in a sea of lava with all of your limbs cut off. For Han Solo to get his name, because he is alone, he is completely alone. The one person in the entire galaxy he thought who was on his side is lost to him and then betrays him at the end of the movie. And it almost sets it up. The end of the film Solo almost sets up like Han is Solo. But because it's this fun little prequel origin story of Han Solo, we know that's not really the case, that in 10 years, Han will, despite his best efforts, be utterly charmed by the Skywalker twins, and he will be able to do what he's only taken the first steps of doing in this movie, which is be a part of something, and be a part of something that's bigger than himself and not be alone. And that was my first impression of the film, that ultimately, Solo is Han Solo origin story about Han Solo not being so alone. And that's really Star Wars to me. And I mean, I feel like even if you didn't enjoy the movie, it's a very Star Wars story and a very Star Warsy film. And I think 2019 is the year where we let ourselves like the stupid shit that Star Wars throws at us. Star Wars is meant to be enjoyed, and if we're not enjoying it, what's the point? Thanks for watching. If you like this video, I will definitely be talking about Star Wars more in the future. Otherwise, I'll see you pretty soon, where I'll probably be talking about a book. Thanks for watching. Bye.